Hello everybody, Ghostblade 1062 here with another locomotive review. Today we will be looking at a Jaegerndorfer Collection Class 193 Vectron locomotive in the TX Logistik ELLorean paint scheme. And now, let's move on to the unboxing. Alright, taking a look at the box, we have the Jaegerndorfer Collection logo and on the top left here, and on the top right here we see that it is a Vectron class locomotive, part of their exclusive line. Here we also have their website, being www.jagerndorfer.at, and here we also have a line drawing of the locomotive. The same information is available on the bottom and top of the box, as well as the right side of the box. On the back of the box, we have again the logo, the website, their address, as well as an age restriction warning in 4 different languages. And finally, on the left side of the box, we have again the branding, Jaegerndorfer Collection branding. We have the product ID, this being 27032. It is the ELLorean paint scheme of their high-end edition line. And here we have a product barcode from the dealer that I purchased it from. And now, sliding off the outer sleeve, we have this locomotive in a clamshell, which is fitting very tightly in the box here. And in behind we also have our paperwork, including our function list, which is in both German and English, and at the bottom of which we also have more detailed contact information for the manufacturer. And then we have our user manual, which includes unpacking instructions. It also gives us a parts list, for both interior and exterior. We also have body removal instructions, lubrication instructions, decoder installation, and detail part instructions as well. And now, sliding off the clamshell here, the outer sleeve of it, here we have our baggie of separately fitted detail parts, including brake line hoses. We have our couplers in here, as well as our fully closed snow plows, if you want to use those, but I will not be using them. And now for the most important part, the locomotive itself. And here we have the locomotive, and it is a beauty. And we will discuss that more in the next section of the video, which is our detail overview. Time to take a closer look at the locomotive. Starting with our front here, we have the closed plow mounted on the front here. And above that we have our brake line hoses as well as our coupling hook in the center here. We have our rectangular buffers. And then above that we have our headlights with grab irons on either side. And moving up we have our clear windshield, which allows us to view the inside of the cab. And it has separately fitted windshield wipers, and right below we also have separately fitted handrails. And at the top center here we have our third headlight. And looking inside we can see the engineer's seat. Now moving on to the side, we can clearly see our very nice detailed paint job, which is based off of the Delorean from Back of the Future, hence the name the ELLorean. And this paint job is just very well done. But moving along the side here, we have our steps to get up onto the front of the locomotive on top of the buffer beam. We have our brake line detailing along the side here, as well as our stirrup steps to climb up to the cab door, which has separately fitted handrails and a molded in door handle. Then looking at the truck, we have our front truck, we have our suspension detailing here, as well as our brake detailing. We have the TX Logistik logo right above the ELLorean brand logo here. And above that we have some radiator vents. Moving further along the side, we have our converter box here with our some electrical paneling and warnings. We have the Siemens branding, as Siemens is the manufacturer of the Vectrons. And we have our full 12-digit road number, this being 91806193-282-1. And this is a multi-system electric locomotive. And moving on towards the back, we see much of the same truck detailing. We have our handrails beside the door again, our see-through window into the cab, our radiator vents, our steps on the front here. Looking at the back of the locomotive, here we can see our NEM shaft, which we will be mounting our coupler in. We again have our brake line detailing between the buffers and our rear plow here. We have our separately fitted windshield wipers, and we can of course see into the cab again. And on the other side here, the detailing is pretty much all the same. Looking at the roof of the locomotive, we have our 4 pantographs here, as this is a multi-system locomotive designed for cross-border operation. Hence, it is set up to work with numerous electrical systems. We also see our electrical wiring and capacitors on the roof here, as well as some radiator vents. And all in all, very nicely detailed. And then looking at the locomotive from underneath, on the rear here again we see our NEM shaft on the rear. However, the front one is not installed, but it can be. Though I personally don't see a need for that, as I would use this locomotive primarily for mainline hauling. But all in all, very nicely detailed. The paint job is super intricate. And it just fits the whole Delorean scheme beautifully. And next, we will be moving on to the rip track segment of the video, where we will make sure the locomotive is ready to go on the track. For the rip track segment, to begin with, we are going to verify the wheel gauge of the locomotive with the NMRA standards gauge. Starting with axle number 1. And we are good. Axle number 2 is good. Axle number 3 is good. And axle number 4 is also good. One thing to note is that this locomotive has very deep flanges. So on more than likely on code 83 track and lower, you would hear the flanges hitting the ties. So that is something to be aware of. We can also see that we have traction tires on 2 of the wheels. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And now to install the coupler, I have a EVE model number 19 here. There we are. Ooh, that is a very tight fit, but we're in. So now we just need to verify our coupler height. Go. Axles are all on the track. And we can see we are sitting quite low on the coupler, but hopefully we should be able to run regardless of that. And now let's get the locomotive over onto the track for a function test. Off camera, however, I will be altering the address of the locomotive to reflect the last 4 digits of the road number, and I will return shortly. Alright, I've got the locomotive placed on the track now, and I've changed the address on it. So now let's begin with the functions of the locomotive. Starting with function 0, the directional lighting. And that's all 3 of our headlights. And it is directional. Now on to function 1, our sound. And right now I have it moving at speed step 1, which is just an absolutely slow crawl. Function tune is our deep horn. Function 3, our high-pitched horn in a short burst. Function 4 is both horns in a holding long. Function 5 is the high beams. Function 6 is the rear lighting. Though I am having some issues with that. Function 7 is coupler sounds. Function 8 is shunting mode. Function 9 is the mute function. Function 10 is the curve squeal. Function 11 is the conductor's whistle. Function 12, the compressor sounds. Function 13 is the cab lighting. And this is directional as well. Function 14 is poorly described. It's described as the target sign light on and off, which I am unsure of what it actually does. Function 15 is dual horn short. Function 16 is high-pitched horn long. Function 17 is low-pitched horn short. Function 18 is flange lubrication sounds, which again, I don't know what that one actually does. Function 19 is the emergency brake. Function 20 is rail ratchet sounds. Again, something I am unsure of. Though, based off of the actual sounds that we get, it's the track sounds. Function 21 is the air vent circulation system. Function 22 is the AC unit. function 23 is the door sounds. And function 24 is the sanding. And then the last two functions, function 25 is to increase volume and 26 to decrease volume. And with that, we have covered all of the functions of this locomotive, which is included with a CMO MS450P decoder. And next, we'll have some run-by footage of the locomotive on its own and with a train. Alright everybody, this concludes my review of the Jaegerndorfer Class 193 Vectron in the TX Logistik ELLorean scheme. The paint scheme on this locomotive is super intricate, based off of the Delorean from Back to the Future. By ways of sound quality, it is great. The sound is very clear on it and very well timed. By ways of actually running, it is running very smoothly. I may or may not attach the NEM shaft for the front coupler at some point, though that is unlikely. It is set up right now to just be able to use one coupler. But all in all, it is a great runner, and I feel it's going to be, well, I don't feel it's going to be, it is a wonderful addition to my collection. And all in all, a model that I can highly recommend. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and subscribe for more model railroad content. Have a great day, everybody.